Welcome to episode 6 of Millennial Real Life Budget Review. Today we are going to be looking at a millennial couple who is a doctor and teacher. They struggle with fun money and restaurant spending, and they have a little bit of debt. Here's how I would rework their budget to solve their problem. Hey guys, it's Justine with Debt Free Millennials, the channel to help you crush your debt and live payment free. So we are actually going to be hopping into this millennial couple's budget. It's really eye-opening because I think a lot of us have issues with spending money on the fun stuff and restaurants, and it derails our progress on our financial goals. So as I mentioned, this is a doctor and teacher. The biggest thing that they are struggling with financially is the restaurant and fun money spending. Their top 2 to 3 financial goals for this year includes paying off debt, hosting for Christmas, including gifts, foods, and events, and I have a feeling it's just getting set up for monthly savings contributions for Christmas and then contributing to retirement. Now, they say that they have just over $12,000 in savings for an emergency fund. Let's go ahead and hop into their budget and see what's going on. Okay, I'm taking a look at their January budget. Cute, they added the little emojis up at the top. So fun. Let's take a look at their debt table. So right away I see a lot of debts. I see these federal groups, assuming these are federal student loans because there is no minimum monthly payment. The interest rate looks about what federal loans would be, and they're very high, well, except for this one, but 50, 46, and 36. And I'm guessing whomever of you is the doctor, I think that's their student loans coming into play. I also want to know, what is Bank of ND? Now, it looks like a $462 monthly minimum payment with 1.62% interest and a total of over $40,000 in outstanding debt with Bank of ND. I'm guessing this is a car loan, so we can also address that. Let's go over to the income table. So you forecasted about $6,000 for total monthly take home, and you actually brought in just over $6,000. But as I was snooping around your budget and I saw February, October, February looks like $8,700. Maybe this was from last year. $30,000 for October, 13 for November, and 15 for December. I'm not quite sure why there's such a fluctuation in your income, but for the purpose of this video, I'll go ahead and budget for around $6,000. So let's hop into your budgeted items here. The rent or mortgage is $1,800. Cell phone was $100, internet, household, groceries. Okay, and then I see where you actually recorded things in the actual column. So let's go back. Let me take a look at what those goals were. Oh, fun money and spending. So let's take a look at fun money here. I just want to see what you're actually forecasting or planning to spend for the fun. So $500. That actually, given your income, your take home, that actually is not bad. The bad thing here though, and what you mentioned, is you blew over the restaurant budget. You budgeted $150 per month and you actually spent $350. So this is a problem area. I'm guessing $150 per month for the two of you is just probably too low realistically. You're not realistically spending anywhere close to that. You're actually spending probably a lot more. So I would advise you to do a spending audit on your restaurant spending. Now, what you do is you actually take an audit in an average of the last 3 months of restaurant spending. So you're gonna take a look back at January, December, November. Take a look at those 3 months and get an average of what you're actually spending on restaurants. Then you can more accurately budget for that particular category. You can do this for any category. By the way, if you want step-by-step instructions with a worksheet, you can download my How to Control Your Spending workbook, which is listed for sale using the link below. That is how I would do this. So conduct spending audit for restaurant spending. And then also I would do the same thing for fun money, because you budgeted $50 here and you actually spent $100. And it looks like you do have running totals for both. So whenever you see a running total in this budget template, all that simply means is if there is any money left over in that category, you can then roll over that money that you didn't use or didn't spend into the next month. So for January, if they truly were spending, you know, if this was like $300 and they only spent $150, then they would have $150 left over that they could then roll over into February. So that's how you could do that for running totals. All right, so that I think is what we need to do for the restaurant and for the fund money, is to conduct a spending audit. And then you can more realistically adjust those two categories, because 50 and 150 is really not that much compared to your take home. Okay, let's talk about your emergency fund, because that's always a big thing. That's actually the first thing that you address before you go all crazy with the debt payoff plan. So in the original submission form, you told me that you had over $12,000 in emergency savings, but right here, I only see that you have close to $6,000. So I'm not sure what the discrepancy is, but if I'm just looking at your budget, let's base this off of $6,000. And because you're still in debt, I definitely think that 2 to 3 months of living expenses set aside in a high yield savings account is adequate for your emergency fund. Once you become debt free, aim for at least 6 months of living expenses or more. So your basic living expenses should include everything, most everything in your fixed category. So that's going to be rent, cell phone, groceries, all of your car related expenses. Your dog definitely gets thrown in there. I'm going to leave the tithe off, because when we're truly trying to take care of ourselves in emergency, we can't possibly take care of anybody else. So let's go ahead and see what that is. Okay, good news is it's $3,000. So if we want to save up 2 months of living expenses, we're looking at just over $6,000. If we wanted to do 3 months of living expenses, then we're looking at $9,000. The great news here is you already pretty much have 2 months of living expenses. So I would go ahead and add $200-ish more, and then stop with the emergency fund savings, and then let's redirect this $600 towards the debt. Okay, and let's talk about your debt payoff plan. I love using this tool. It's a free tool from vertex42.com. It's a debt reduction calculator. I went ahead and added in all of your debts, including the outstanding balance, the interest rate, and your payment. Now, I was kind of just playing around with the calculator because I know you're not currently paying, but I was like, what if they put $100 towards all of those student loans? If that was the case, then take a look at your debt payoff plan. If we were to do the snowball, which was starting with the lowest balance first, then you can see that the federal group AA, which was $3,500, that would take just over a year to pay off. Now, if I were you, what I would do here is I would really consider whether or not this is worth it. Your interest rate is really low on the car, but the balance is really high. So the balance is really high compared to your take home, and I'm just not sure if I'm comfortable with that. If you're like, no, we really need to keep this car, fine, let's just keep it as is. But honestly, I would start paying down some of these debts. I would start paying off. I think you have a couple options here. One, you could start with the highest interest rate, which right now is the car. I'm just calling it the car. I don't know. I would start with the car, Bank of ND, and keep paying on that until we learn more about the student loan forgiveness plan that is currently tied up in the court system. If that $10,000 forgiveness actually goes through, then you're going to get $10K shaved off of your debts, which would be fantastic. I also wonder, how long have you been making payments? Because you could actually qualify for public service loan forgiveness. And if that's the case, maybe you just continue on with payments. I actually do not like telling people to do that, but because you have such high student loan debt, I'm curious how long you've been making payments for. Also, I want to know exactly whether or not the $6,000 take home is normal or if you actually make more. Another way to figure out whether or not you should just pay this off yourself versus trying to apply for public service loan forgiveness is if your combined salaries is close to the debt that you owe. So this would be kind of like a 1-to-1 ratio. If your combined salaries is close to $178,000, then I would say screw PSLF and just continue to pay off your debts. You can do it either by working on the debt that has the highest outstanding balance or the one that has the smallest. It'd be nice to get rid of the $3,500 debt because that one would be super easy for you guys to do. But I'm also looking at, you got close to 6% in interest on $50,000 in that group AC. And that interest, once it starts accruing, is really, really going to hurt, especially because that balance is so high. I think you have choice. I would think about figuring out whether or not you want to do kind of debt snowball or if you want to do debt avalanche. And keep in mind that once those student loan payments kick in and you have to start paying them again, that's really going to change how we're budgeting here, because already you've spent over $1,300 in this budget. So the biggest outlier here, well, car repairs. So it looks like you need a budget more than $40 per month for car repairs. So this looks like an outlier. You could probably get rid of that. And then also the $600 here. Also, I see the C licensure. I'm not sure how long it takes for you guys to get there. Well, let's see. Save $2,000. Oh, perfect. Well, you're already almost there. So I would add another $300 to this for next month. And then in March, we are pretty much moving $1,100 back up to our debt, and we are starting to really chip away at some of the debts. This is going to feel like a marathon. This is not a sprint for your debt payoff because your debt is so high. But I think if you can just factor that away and know that over time your income hopefully will increase and you have to make money moves that way, I think you're going to see this start to come down. And then I also want to know whether or not you are thinking or have the criteria for the PSLF. I think that pretty much wraps up your budget. As I'm looking at the other budgeted items, I don't think any of this is unreasonable. $160 for car insurance, I'm curious if that includes 2 vehicles. If it's just one, that's super high. So I would consider maybe looking at getting some car insurance comparison quotes. I love using EXPERIAN's free comparison tool, which is always linked below. And then that way you know exactly what you need for your premium, because we could definitely reduce that. But that's small bones right there, right? I think we can absolutely get rid of the emergency fund savings. This is going to go away soon because you're already close to hitting that 2K goal. And then we can start moving. I would say, let's be realistic about the fund money and the restaurant money, and then put everything towards that debt. You even said pay extra $40K towards loans. Well, I'm telling you, if we're doing 1K plus the 14, so like 1,600, that's not enough to hit the 40K. Let's see, 16,3 divided by 1,600. So 25, yeah, you need to be putting double. You need to be putting 3,200 towards the debt each month. Yeah, 3,300 towards the debt each month in order to pay an extra 40K towards your loans right now. So let's start with the 1,600, 1,500, because you already got 500 going towards Bank of ND. Gonna free up that $1,100, move it up to the debt, and you'll just start to increase that over time as you get comfortable with that and comfortable with your spending. All right, so that's how I would rework their budget to help them hit their goals. If you want to go deeper, don't forget that I have my one-on-one budget coaching program, Budget Bootcamp, where you and I sit down virtually to go over your budget, your financial struggles and goals over 3-month period. It's a fantastic program. It's one of my favorite things to do. You can sign up using the link below. And if you want your budget reviewed anonymously, click the Google form below, fill out as much as possible. The more details, the better, so I can give you a better and more accurate recommendation. And I'll catch you in the next video.